Hey, how's it going, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to this week's astrological report for July 28 through August 3 of 2026. I'm running a few hours behind today, but I'm still getting this video out for you, so I hope it'll be helpful. Looking at the chart for the week ahead, the main event is definitely going to be the Aquarius full moon. That'll be peaking on Wednesday, July 29 at 6 degrees of Aquarius. And this full moon, it's right next to Pluto, so it's very powerful, very intense. At the same time, we have the Sun conjunct Jupiter on Wednesday. So that only happens one day a year. However, in the sign of Leo, it only happens one day every 12 years. So big spotlight on everything about Jupiter. So there's going to be strong feelings, strong emotions, and just the way people are expressing themselves will be most likely pretty dramatic and powerful for the week ahead. We also have another aspect on this day, Wednesday. Venus and Mars are perfecting their square. So this is a first quarter square that goes back to when Venus and Mars were conjunct for a brand new cycle back in January in the sign of Capricorn. So that conjunction, that was a new cycle that was speaking about relationships coming together to achieve something, accomplish something together that couldn't be accomplished on their own individually. And now, in this part of the cycle, they've reached this first quarter, which is the crisis and action point for relationships. How to move relationships forward past this tension point for the week ahead. But when Venus and Mars are connected, that's an aspect of make love or make war. So there can be tension for good or bad with that aspect. So again, Wednesday is the big day with a lot going on. Other than that, just mostly lunar aspects for the rest of the week. The moon will be making 4 conjunctions, one to Pluto, one to the North Node of Destiny, one to Neptune, and we finalize the week with the last aspect being the moon conjunct Saturn. So the moon will be waning after that full moon through the second half of Aquarius, all through Pisces and halfway through Aries for the week ahead. Now we also have Chiron stationing retrograde. That'll be exact by next Monday on August 3, but it's pretty much not moving all week long at 0 degrees. So everything about Chiron is more amplified, more powerful, wounds and sensitivities and everything that it speaks about as far as wounds and healing. All right, so those are the main aspects. As always, check the description. You can get timestamps and the exact time of every aspect throughout the week. Okay, so with that, let's get started here for Tuesday on July 28. As I'm making this report in the morning, the moon is at the end of Capricorn. So the moon is going to be in Capricorn all day long. In fact, there's really not much going on aspect-wise for most of Tuesday. Now that moon is building. There's a lot of light on the moon, and eventually the moon will be changing signs. So it looks like the moon will make one minor aspect before it changes into Aquarius, and that's going to be later this evening. The moon will make an inconjunction to the south node. And let's see, that south node is now at 29 degrees of Leo. Put this on the hour here. So inconjunct to the south node shows that we might have to make some sort of an adjustment as the mood will begin to change later on. But just know that all day long the moon is in Capricorn, so it's more of a serious moon phase for Tuesday. And the circumstances, the mood, everything is being ruled by Saturn. And really, even the full moon will be ruled by Saturn. So we have it all comes back to this heavier energy about Saturn and Aries, where we need to take responsibility for the self. We need to deal with commitments and other matters that could be a little more, pressure, some worry, some stress for some people. But with this moon phase, it's more about being responsible, doing what needs to be done, being punctual, working hard, looking at goals and ambitions. This is where the moon has already been for the last couple of days. So we're at the tail end of this phase. This more responsible, work, grounded, practical moon phase. This isn't a place that the moon likes to be, so it's a little more of a tougher place emotionally generally speaking. And again, it's ruled by this heavier Saturn. So that's all day long, the moon waxing through the rest of Capricorn in this more serious mood, drier emotional expression. For now, it's kind of at odds with this big Leo down here with the Sun and Jupiter. And then by this evening, this is going to be 6:45 on the West Coast when the moon finally changes signs and ingresses Aquarius. So this will be late on Tuesday night for people on the East Coast. So this will be the first big change of the day as the moon will ingress Aquarius here. Now, it's still a pretty big mood change overall, even though it's still being ruled by Saturn once that moon comes in. But it's also, again, becoming full and approaching Pluto. So the moon has a lot of light on it as it changes signs and illuminating a lot about Pluto. So those vibes are going to be in the air for Tuesday night and then culminating for Wednesday as we have this full moon. But I would say right as the moon comes into Aquarius on Tuesday night, it's kind of full moon vibes from this point forward. Now, right as the moon does come in here, it also aligns with the bigger configuration up in the sky of these minor grand trines with all the outer planets. So it's another round of activation for this world development that's happening in the background. But also, right as the moon comes into Aquarius, it makes that square over to Chiron, which is slow, preparing to station retrograde. So it highlights wounds and sensitivities, especially in the context of groups and friends and community. And that's pretty much the new phase as this moon is coming into Aquarius now. It puts more emphasis on community settings and friendships and groups and organizations and politics. And it's more intellectual moon phase. So normally this is a phase that wants people to detach from deep emotions and feelings. However, it's a full moon and it's next to Pluto and it's being opposed by really big energy of the Sun and Jupiter. So it's going to be very difficult for people to maintain control over their emotions and their feelings because people will be more excitable. Mood and feelings will just becoming more amplified, more expressive for people, and more intense as the moon is right next to Pluto as well. So that's literally the last aspect for Tuesday night is the moon square Chiron with this new change that has just taken place. So a little bit of sensitivity, I would say, on late Tuesday night, and just the fact that Venus and Mars are also about to perfect their square. You know, there could be a lot of tension with relationships this next couple of days because of the Venus-Mars square and the fact that we're having a full moon next to Pluto. So expect some relationships and people and friends and even romantic relationships to be a little more edgy this next couple of days, perhaps. All right, so that's what we have for Tuesday, just a few aspects, just a change of energy overall into this full moon vibe. And then we get to Wednesday on July 29, and the first aspect is the Venus-Mars square. So again, this is the first quarter, and Venus is trying to push forward through this first quarter. So it's just that Venus and Mars, the lovers, the feminine and the masculine, they're on two different pages. You know, Mars is more intellectual in Gemini, and Venus in Virgo is debilitated. But both of these planets that are connecting Gemini and Virgo with Mars and Venus, they're both ruled by Mercury. And so Mercury is also finally building up momentum forward from that retrograde last week where it's stationed direct. It's kind of just stuck at 16 degrees. Now it's finally moving forward here. But it still comes back. A lot about this tension between the lovers could also be mental tension and things that are up in the head for people and working things out. And, you know, there could just be more tension in getting what we want, or let's say cooperation with other people because of the overall square. But it still comes back to January when they were conjunct for a brand new cycle and coming together for something bigger, like I said, you know, partnering or having a relationship with somebody that's working towards something, a goal together. And now that goal could be challenged in some way. So you have to kind of reassess relationship a little bit for some people. And, how can a relationship move forward past some sort of an issue that could be coming up this week? So there's that in the background between Venus and Mars. But again, the square between Venus and Mars can go either way. It can actually, stimulate contact and desire too, and passion. And then it can also be bickering and fighting and just edginess. So it all depends on each situation. Now, this square is taking place at 21 degrees. So if you have 21 degrees of one of the mutable signs, then you're more likely wrapped up in this tension dynamic in the background. So 21 degrees of Gemini, 21 Virgo, 21 Sagittarius, or 21 Pisces. Okay, and that's the first aspect for the day. So the day starts off intense with that Venus-Mars square and the fact that the moon is conjunct Pluto first thing in the morning. So moon conjunct Pluto shows that circumstances, the mood, the feelings, it has an edginess, it has a shadow connected to it. There's depth about it. There's undercurrents of power and control. There could be manipulation within relationships. And again, this puts more focus on friendships, on community, on science and politics and groups of people, organizations. So some of this tension just for everyday people could also be coming out through friendships and just your daily life, your daily community and, these undercurrents of power and control that we could be picking up on. And again, it's a full moon day. First thing in the morning, the moon is building towards this peak emotional intensity. So it's also transformative with the moon conjunct Pluto, plus being full. There's a lot of awareness, illumination that could be coming out, especially about the deeper, darker things of life, the things that were more hidden, that were hard to see before. And power struggles, power plays could be coming out in some way. Things can be much more dramatic in the world than normal. Conversations with people and just interactions with people could be more intense, more dramatic for some reason. This can also be a lot about social events too. Different social events getting really amplified and intense. Entertainment events, social gatherings, activities with groups of people could start getting really dramatic and intense for Wednesday. And we also see the moon, again, connecting to that minor grand trine with the outer planets. So another round of world developments are happening in the background as well, talking about this bigger configuration. So moon sextile Neptune, moon trine Uranus says, okay, time to look at things differently as well. Tap into the dream, the inspirations, the creativity, the fantasies, the visions. Tap into the new possibilities, thinking outside the box, doing things in alternative ways, trying something that you haven't tried in the past. All these things are being lit up as we move into Wednesday. And then we get to the big event, which is the full moon. This is going to be first thing in the morning is this full moon. The full moon is exact actually at 7:35 a.m. on the West Coast. So all this is really powerful first thing on Wednesday. So we also see that we have the conjunction of the sun and Jupiter. So the sun is putting a big spotlight on everything about Jupiter and Leo. So again, this is really bold, big energy. The sun is already very powerful in the sign of Leo. We're also beginning to enter eclipse energy too. We're moving towards eclipses, which are powerful life-changing events and wild card energy, and just more unpredictability. But everything could be over the top. Things could be bigger than normal, energetically, emotionally, the way people are expressing themselves. There could be big pride, big ego, big generosity, big-hearted feelings and passion, that the sun is highlighting here. So again, it can be social events, it can be entertainment events, sporting events. Just there's a highlight on fun, recreational things, creativity, social interactions because of the opposition to Aquarius with this full moon. So something is peaking that's really powerful on Wednesday in the world. just more drama, most likely, more passion. Now, this can be good too. This can be fun. This can be big shakeups. There's always a chance that, earth events, weather events, everything is going to be more extreme this week than normal because of a full moon with Pluto and opposite Jupiter. Everything's over the top and just bigger than we normally deal with energetically. So there could be big earth events. There could be other, intensities that the world is going through in ways that are being highlighted through media and all that this week. But it can also be good things too. Again, there can be social events that are fun, recreational events, creative things that people are engaged in and doing. But this full moon, again, it comes with Pluto. So there's a lot of intensity. There's these undercurrents. There's power control. There's power plays that are continuing. And something very passionate. Now, in my opinion, I feel like this could be a turning point for some big event in the world this week. I was thinking, maybe something with Russia, Ukraine, is at a turning point. Those things are possible as well. But overall, just expect people to be more excitable and more passionate and dramatic. Some people on a negative side of it, some people on a more of a positive side of it. But it's also, again, about illumination, showing us what was hidden below the surface. And ultimately, whatever happens this week, it leads to this big transformation with the moon next to Pluto. So everything is intensified. Just understand that every category of life this week could be intensified and just more extreme than normal. So be careful, of any kind of social events or friendship activity where, people are acting more extreme or, wanting to do something that's more bold. Just make sure, you don't get caught up in anything that's too intense. All right, so that's the big energy for Wednesday. And moon opposite Jupiter. So this Jupiter-Pluto, again, it's just going to add the shadow, the depth, the intensity, the transformative effects. And then Jupiter just puts everything over the top. Everything's bigger than normal. And so be careful of getting sucked into extreme emotions or how people are expressing their emotions. Could be over the top, overly dramatic, exaggerated, or there could just be big things happening and, people are really excitable about it. All right, so that's one of the main events, but let me align this full moon perfectly. It's going to be at 6 degrees. Looks like 6 degrees, 30 minutes, I believe. 6 degrees, 30 minutes. So check your chart. You have a personal planet at 6 degrees of Aquarius. If you do, then, you're facing a once-in-a-lifetime Pluto transit next year. But you're also wrapped up into this full moon and the Jupiter opposition. And so if you have a personal planet about 6 degrees of Aquarius, you're definitely wrapped up into things that are bigger than normal right now and a little more extreme and intense. And just know that something could be changing. There's this transformative energy for whatever that planet in your chart is talking about. But those are the people most affected, 6 degrees of Aquarius. And then, of course, if you have 6 degrees of Leo, you're under this big sun, Jupiter, big spotlight on things in your chart. Wherever you have Leo, this is where there's a new beginning that's going to be building up. For both signs, Aquarius and Leo have big new beginnings on the horizon. And then I would say 6 degrees of Taurus, 6 degrees of Scorpio, you're also wrapped up into this, but in a little more of a challenging way, perhaps. And it doesn't have to necessarily manifest as some major event. It could just be, a feeling or, again, illumination coming in about things that are normally hidden. Now, this full moon, it's pretty much connected to the minor grand trine up in the sky. So again, it's also culminating this aspect for the world that shows the world is in this new development, whether we recognize it or not. And again, we're not seeing the full results right in this moment, but it's in play in the background, this changing of world dynamics. for the long-term future. So again, this moon is connecting to these outer planets that are all connected, that says there's opportunities here. This full moon could show us new opportunities, show us of what we can do when we step outside the box and be innovative and try new things and tap into our dreams and initiate dreams, make things happen. So it's just really big energy. It's quite rare overall. Now, the last aspect for Wednesday is the moon making a sextile to Saturn. So that can help stabilize all this intense emotional energy that's playing out all day long when that moon finally makes that sextile by Wednesday night. So moon, Saturn, we're more mature. We're working with situations and circumstances and mood a little bit better, working with discipline or limitations in a better way. So that's what we have for the big full moon energy on Wednesday. It's pretty intense, it looks like, and just expect to see big things coming out this week in the world, and the world at a major turning point. Okay, now we get to Thursday on July 30th. The moon is halfway through Aquarius by this point, still being ruled by Saturn, this tougher energy that we have to deal with, take responsibility for, look at where we have pressures and things we need to be doing, but it's still putting a lot of emphasis on groups and friends and community, still coming off that intense full moon of what was illuminated for Wednesday. But we only have 3 aspects. 2 of them are minor aspects for Thursday, and that's the moon in conjunct to Mercury. So that'll be the first aspect. First thing on Thursday morning is this moon in Aquarius at odds with Mercury in Cancer. So Mercury in Cancer is much more intuitive, feeling-based, sensitive. The moon in Aquarius is more detached, intellectual. It's out in the world versus the inner world. So they're just clashing. How people feel and how people are thinking and communicating are on 2 different pages. And then the moon makes a trine to Mars on Thursday. So that's a better opening for action, passion, drive, determination, in more of a detached way. So an action alignment comes in for Thursday afternoon. Moon is also in conjunct to Venus at the same time, adjusting to relationships, personal desires, and preferences, also a little bit at odds with the moon and the mood and the feelings and the circumstances. So clashing a little bit with how people feel and how people feel satisfied or desire, or again, relationship. They're just it's not smooth or flowing in that way. It's more, this aspect is better for independence, doing what you need to do, taking action. So those are the 3 aspects for Thursday. Moving this forward, we get to Friday on July 31st, and the moon is at the very end of Aquarius before it changes signs. So this is a fateful day on Friday, as the moon is conjunct the north node of destiny. And the nodes are, they've just recently shifted signs into Aquarius and Leo, but they're at 29 degrees. So the world's fate and destiny is at a critical degree right now. And that moon moves over 29 degrees on that north node, activating that critical fate and destiny for Friday early morning. So again, whatever happens or whatever we see, it's just having this ripple effect for the long-term future. But then the moon instantly changes signs and changes mood and phase coming off that full moon. So by this point now, we're really separating from that full moon energy that was on Wednesday, that we experienced all Wednesday, Thursday, and now by Friday, we have this change of mood overall as the moon ingresses Pisces for the next 2.5 days. So now, after 5 days of the moon being ruled by Saturn, now the moon is being ruled by Jupiter in Leo. So things can start to shift here a little bit. However, the moon in Pisces is a pretty sensitive placement for, It's behind the scenes. It's energetically and emotionally sensitive. It absorbs energy like a sponge. So again, people have to be more guarded about boundaries, be aware of their boundaries, protect themselves through what their environment is showing, and because again, people can pick up on energy a lot easier with the moon here. It's the collective unconscious. It's the influence that we're all, influenced by. All these invisible things is where they are in the Pisces realm of things. But it still comes back to now Jupiter and Leo, that, okay, now there's this energy that wants to come back to be more fun and creative, recreational things, entertainment, now that we're coming off the more serious vibes of Saturn and the Pluto and the full moon and all that. So this moon phase just shows there's more of a pull behind the scenes for people. Now we have water along with Mercury, so there's more sensitivity, more feelings again with things. People have to be careful being, self-sacrificing, being a martyr, and kind of getting trapped in energetic things here. But overall, just a general change of mood and feelings from this point forward. And then we see that the moon is sextile Chiron, as Chiron is, amplified as it's beginning to stop. So there's a better connection to Chiron for a few hours there, first thing on Friday morning. And then we see the moon is square Uranus as the day goes on. This is going to be later on, it looks like, in the afternoon to evening, depending on where you live. Moon square Uranus can show that Friday afternoon, Friday evening could have some disruptions potentially. So be open, be flexible and adaptable to changing circumstances or plans or anything like that. People could be more excitable. People could be more rebellious, or again, just general disruptions could be happening for whatever reason in certain places. And then the next two aspects are just minor aspects. The moon is in conjunct to Jupiter, and the moon is in conjunct to the sun. So this moon right here, making these in conjunctions, it's like totally two different pages here. The moon pulling people into their own world or behind the scenes, energetically a lot more sensitive and hidden, whereas the Jupiter-Sun conjunction in Leo is much more about being seen and being active and bold and outward and self-expressive and, just this more visible solar energy versus this more private lunar energy at odds with each other. So Friday night, it's kind of making some adjustments. Perhaps Friday night isn't as in flow with parties and recreational things. It could still work because the sun and Jupiter are conjunct, but it'd be better when the moon is in Aries and trine the Leo vibe for like a party event. But there might just be some adjustments or something for Friday night if people are in a social environment. All right, so that's what we have for Friday night. It's probably not terrible because, again, it still comes back to this Jupiter and the Sun conjunction. So we get to Saturday on August 1st. We just have one aspect all day long on Saturday, and that is the moon trine Mercury. So this Pisces moon is in good alignment with this Cancer Mercury, building up momentum now and starting to move forward finally. So the heart and the mind, the feelings, the mood, the thoughts, the communication style. This can be nonverbal communication or just intuitively picking up on things very strongly, more in alignment with how we think and feel basically by Saturday night. So all day long, there's really no aspects on Saturday until we get to Saturday night and we have this one aspect. So the moon is kind of just by itself in Pisces all day on Saturday, again, pulling people into their own world or behind the scenes. And then it could come back to, again, recreational, creative events, social entertainment events. But for some people, it'll be more sensitive in their own private world. So that's the only major aspect on August 1. And then we get to Sunday on August 2. We do have several major aspects here for this day, and the first one is going to be the moon at the end of Pisces making a square down to Mars. So moon square Mars can show people are more impulsive than normal, edgier than normal, emotional tension, or again, the need to be doing something and be physically active. But there's tension in that because the moon is still in a very sensitive placement that's more private and behind the scenes. But there could start to be a change where people are being pulled out and needing to be doing something here. But just check your impulsiveness overall. The moon also makes the opposition to Venus at the same time. So the moon is connecting again to this Mars-Venus aspect once again, but in hard aspects. So it's kind of connecting this relationship tension again by Sunday. So moon opposite Venus can show a little bit of tension and pleasure, or how people are feeling, how satisfied or content people are feeling. The moon is kind of at odds with the lovers, the mood, the feelings, the circumstances on Sunday, early morning. They're just not as flowing as well in relationship. And then the moon is also in conjunct to the South Node as the moon approaches the last critical degree of Pisces on Sunday afternoon. So adjusting to, again, this critical degree that's now in play here of Leo, adjusting to things of the past and to the heart and the passion that's in focus. But this leads to a mood change now as the moon will ingress Aries by Sunday afternoon. So the first half of Sunday is very different energetically compared to the second half of Sunday. So now with the moon in Aries, circumstances in the mood is being ruled by this Mars at the last degrees of Gemini. So things get lighter, busier, things start to speed up, becoming quicker here, and people's emotions and feelings and needs are beginning to change, to be more impulsive, to be more active and busy and outward and independent. But this is also the territory of Neptune and Saturn, and the last aspect for by Monday will be that moon reaching Saturn. So it's still picking up on some of the limitations or the heavier things that we have to look at as well. But now with the moon in Aries, it's just in better harmony with the sun and Jupiter in Leo. So now we have a lot more fire energy, more passion, more action, more outward energy that's going to be coming in strong. And then the moon is also sextile Pluto on Sunday afternoon, connecting to the group, the friends and the community and the power dynamics in a better way, connecting to the minor grand trine of the global configuration, playing out in the background and shaping the world again. Just more connections to what's, shaping the overall fate of the world. And then moon is conjunct Neptune. So circumstances, the mood, the feelings are all around this dream. So this can really bring up a lot about people's dreams, fantasies, and inspirations. In other situations on the global level, it can also bring up issues of conspiracies and scandals, probably scandals in some way by this point after the full moon. And then the last aspect for this day is the moon making the sextile to Uranus, another corner of that bigger configuration of being able to do things differently and having new ideas, new possibilities, and working with them by taking action on those things. Okay, and then this is going to be a short video, but that's okay because, again, I'm already running behind here, and there's not a ton of things happening this week other than these big events around Wednesday. But shorter video, but hey, guys, I'm still here. So looking at Monday on August 3, the moon in Aries makes a trine to the sun and Jupiter. So this is one of the better alignments to this Jupiter-Sun by Monday. Things are more flowing, more passionate, more creative, more inspired, more abundant, more expansive. It's all about fire, which is action and instinctive. So better opening to be going big on things by Monday morning. This is also the day where Chiron is officially stationing retrograde. So everything about Chiron is very strong. So do you have a personal planet at 0 degrees of Taurus? If you do, then Chiron is right on your personal planet, stopped and amplifying what it means. So it's showing you that there's a potential wound that you need to look at and adjust to and work with over the next year, because Chiron will start to slowly move backwards away from this, but then it's going to come back next year and move over 0 degrees again. So kind of get in touch, if you do have 0 Taurus, kind of see how you're feeling by next Monday and what this could mean for you. And so it'll take a while. It'll be stuck here at 0 degrees for a while until it builds up momentum and comes back to Aries. And then the final aspect for Monday, which is really by Monday afternoon, is the moon conjunct Saturn. And this is kind of closing out this more difficult Saturn energy that we've had recently with Mercury square Saturn, and we've had the sun and different things connected to Saturn. But now this is a turning point where it'll be easier by next week, perhaps, because the moon will get past Saturn, and then the sun and Jupiter will be building a trine to Saturn. And from this point forward, we are entering Jupiter trine Saturn this year and next year, which is a great aspect up in the sky for everybody, including it's usually a great aspect for the economy, saying that there's going to be growth and expansion in the overall world economy coming up, especially through 2027. So that's what astrology says anyway. And this also shows that there's opportunity for growth and expansion once we get past these eclipses. But for now, we're still moving towards the eclipse energy, which is, again, wild card energy, and life-changing events can be happening in August with this solar eclipse coming by August 12. But in the meantime here, for Monday evening, we have Moon, Saturn. It can feel a little bit heavier, a little more restrictive, some pressure, some stress, some worry, fear, stuff like that could be coming up on Monday. But it's a turning point for it. I think it'll get easier, like I said, as the sun will then next week be trine Saturn. And now we have this bigger focus on Jupiter and Leo. It's just like, let's go big with things. Let's take life to the next level. Let's make things happen. But it requires courage, bravery, going big, making things happen independently, not just waiting for things to fall into our lap. So that's how I'm looking at this week, guys. It's not too much going on, but it looks like Wednesday is definitely the big day with the biggest aspects, and the full moon culminating and showing us where we stand with things, illuminating the deeper, darker side of life, showing intensity, extremism on all different levels of life. Everything could just be more extreme, more intense, more amplified as we go through this week on different levels of life. Okay, so hit that like button for me. I appreciate it. Appreciate you watching. I hope you got something out of this. And I hope you have a great week ahead. I will catch you on the next one. Take good care.